Leader of the Opposition. He is in love with the sound of his own voice and his own attacks, but he doesn't actually check the facts.
On the farmers that produce the food and the truckers that bring it to the grocery store, how much will that tax increase add to the monthly cost of groceries for the average Canadian family? How much?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
What Canadians know clearly is the inaction by a decade of a Conservative government and the continued resistance of Conservatives to take action on fighting climate change is costing them incredible amounts. How many homes have been lost in Nova Scotia? How many people affected and evacuated across Alberta? How many people in the Northwest Territories affected now? In New Brunswick, people in Central Canada worried about forest fires coming there in the coming weeks and months. The reality is extreme weather events are getting more and more expensive for Canadians, which is why we need to continue to lead on climate change while supporting Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, all of those things have happened with his carbon tax in place. His carbon tax has done nothing to reduce emissions, let alone to stop storms and other weather events. So that is nothing more than another act from this Prime Minister. Let's get back to the question. My question was very specific. We know now that a British Columbia family has to spend $1,200 a month on groceries just to feed their kids. He wants to raise the tax up to 61 cents a litre on the farmers and truckers who bring us our food. How much will that add to the grocery bill of an average family? How much?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Here's the problem with the Leader of the Opposition. He is in love with the sound of his own voice and his own attacks, but he doesn't actually check the facts.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, here's the issue with the Leader of the Opposition, who's so in love with the sound of his own voice that he doesn't actually check the facts. Mr. Speaker, he's talking about our price on pollution when the reality is BC has its own price on pollution. The federal backstop doesn't even apply in BC. He is mixing everything for political arguments, for partisan attacks to try and scare Canadians, and to cover for the fact that he has no plan to fight climate change and therefore has no plan for the future of the Canadian economy.
So the high school drama teacher over here accuses others of liking the sounds of their own voices. This from a guy who, if he were made of chocolate, he would eat himself. But we don't want him to do that until after he answers my question, which I keep asking. It's about the cost of groceries in BC and everywhere else. Now, he's right. The NDP has already put in a carbon tax there, but he wants to force them to increase it by almost 40 cents to 61 cents a litre, a federally imposed tax by the costly coalition of the Liberals and NDP. How much will it add to the cost of groceries for the average family? How much?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I was a high school teacher before getting into politics, and I'm having a little trouble remembering what exactly the job that the Leader of the Opposition had before getting into politics. With a grocery rebate, with a growing economy, with great middle-class jobs. We're delivering supports for Canadians from coast to coast to coast, delivering dental care that has helped 300,000 kids access dental care over the past number of months, including 1,100 in his own riding. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to be there for Canadians.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Yes, and he left right in the middle of the semester, and I'm having trouble remembering why. Now, Mr. Speaker. He certainly wasn't a math teacher. He certainly was not a math teacher. His own finance minister says the deficits pour fuel on the inflationary fire, right before she introduced $60 billion more deficit spending measures. How much will that add to the inflation rate Canadians have to pay? How much?
Hear, hear. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, while the Leader of the Opposition continues to talk down the Canadian economy, we have the lowest deficit in the G7. We have the best debt to GDP ratio of the G7. And the fact is, Mr. Speaker, that Canadians can expect that there be arguments back and forth about fiscal responsibility. But if they check the international bond rating agencies, the people who are designed and whose jobs it is to evaluate the fiscal responsibility of a given government, they continue to give us a AAA rating for fiscal responsibility. Canadians know we are on the right track.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.